So, my mom is dead. I'm not laughing or smiling because it's funny, because it's not funny. And I'm not having fun, obviously. You can't tell that I've been crying for the last 2.5 hours, but just know that I've been crying for the last 2.5 hours. Initially, I was gonna write something out, type something out, post it on like Patreon or Substack or underneath a bunch of Instagram photos of my mom to be like, hey guys, here's my year after dealing with the death of my mother and my profound and intellectual thoughts on grief and loss and where I've been for the last year. But then that felt so, just didn't feel right. I've never really been good at writing, but I feel like I'm like decent at like speaking. Okay, I'm okay at speaking. And also, not necessarily like I felt like the need to do this to capitalize on my grief, which, like, actually capitalizing on my grief and getting a check would be kind of nice, I'm not gonna lie. But not really what that is about. More just like when your mom dies, no one really gives you a book or a pamphlet and thoughts and feelings and how confusing it is and how up and down it can be. And well, maybe there is a pamphlet that no one just gave me because they don't like me. That's something I need to write down in my diary or get a therapist for. Anyways, that's why I'm making this video, I guess. It's like no one who's young and hot and beautiful has dead parents anymore. Except, lucky for you, I do, so smash that. I'm joking. So, it's been a year since my mom has died, and today is the anniversary. It's the 1 year anniversary, and so here are some of my thoughts and my feelings and my viewpoints. The first thing is that everyone who you talk to about having a dead mother kind of doesn't know what the fuck to say to you. Everyone tries really hard, I guess, like not to flinch or cringe in parts of the conversation that lead back to your dead parent or your lost loved one. It's mainly them feeling uncomfortable thing, not necessarily you. I realized. Even your friends, even people who know you, even people who love you, people who have seen you through the ups and downs of your life have no clue, really, what to say or do. And there's this weird pitying look that a lot of people get in their faces. They try really hard to cover it up. Southern Indiana for you. And I think that's funny, in a way, almost. Everyone has this look on their face where, again, even if they didn't necessarily like their parent, they're like, God, so glad I'm not the one with the dead mom in this situation. Everyone's super afraid to ask questions. People do the simple, like, hey, how are you? Sort of thing, but it's, you always feel weird trying to give somebody the actual answer where it's like, I don't know, man. My mom's dead. I'm going crazy in my bedroom. Everyone who I've talked to in regards to my friends, every single person across the board has talked about how they are so afraid of saying the wrong thing or sounding stupid or asking a stupid question or making me feel uncomfortable, to which I always respond with, hey, like, I'm a big girl. I know how to change a conversation if I'm not feeling comfortable. And to be honest with you, I find it a lot harder and difficult and sad, really, to watch my friends try and talk about anything other than the elephant in the room, which is the fact that I have, at this point, now 2 dead parents, but at that time, and right now, a dead mom. it's like not wanting to talk about it makes it 12 times more worse than actually talking about it. Because, I mean, look at me right now. The day that my mom died, which we're getting so intimate, I've only told 2 other people this. You're already in my bedroom. What are we? What are we? But the day that my mom died, I walked from the house that I was staying in to my town's only movie theater. Which doesn't sound like much, but I just want you to know that I live on the south side. And that's no frame of reference for you, but where I was staying was about a 2.5 hour walk to the movie theater. And I walked it because no one gives you rules. No one gives you rules for what to do the day that your mom dies. There's no handbook. I guess there's not really any rule to the day that your mom dies, actually. I just knew that I didn't want to go to work, and I didn't want to stay in the house that I was staying in because it was disgusting. So I thought to myself, well, what's the best thing that I could do? I don't want to go shopping. That seems heinous. So I saw a double feature. I smoked 2 or 3 cigarettes beside the burnt down carpet store right next to our AMC theaters, and I'm pretty sure I threw up. Then I saw Eileen and that Hunger Games movie, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. I'm pretty sure I gave both like 3 stars on Letterboxd. Probably not the best day for me to see either of those movies, even though Anne Hathaway, I do love you. I ate 4 AMC cheeseburger sliders, disgusting, horrible, malicious, evil, demonic. And I also ate 1 full Bavarian pretzel. Amazing, iconic, delicious, sweet, tender, beautiful. I highly recommend bringing your own ranch for that. Like the mustard and the cheese, like they're good, but like ranch would just make it great. You know what I mean? And I had probably the world's biggest cherry vanilla Coke. And after the movies were done, I walked to the only bar that I really care about in town. And I had a couple drinks, that's for sure. And then I threw up in the alley. So I was disappointing because it was like $40 down the drain. And then I got an Uber because, I mean, the night was already bad as it was. Why would I make it worse on myself? Back to the place where I was staying, and I locked myself in the room. I refused to call it my bedroom at that time, but I locked myself inside of the room for 3 whole days. Only time I really left the room was to take my dog, Luna, out for a walk, to use the bathroom, and to smoke cigarettes. I did that for 3 days before I went back to work. Which now, looking back on it, I'm like, that was genuinely like a crazy thing to do, but I think there was no guidebook, there was no pamphlet. Also, it's like, what else am I supposed to do? I can't keep staying in my not room watching bad horror movies and ignoring my phone. I'm gonna run out of money. And there's nothing quite like working in the service industry 3 days after your mom died. Because it's like, oh, hi, how are you? Yes. How are the wife? How are the kids? We've been sent such good weather. Right? Ugh, that snow. Jerry! Coffee? While you're just like constantly thinking about like death and dying and the fact that your mom's dead and you know that your relationship was not necessarily great, but you're never gonna get an apology or no one's gonna laugh at your jokes the way that she did, or no one's gonna get you fucking Burger King randomly. You know? Small things that make you burst into tears at the thought of that no one else really understands. And I did that for days, weeks even. I got super good at cosplaying a normal woman who doesn't have a dead mom at work around my friends because no one would really talk to me about it. Smoke a cigarette. I'd wake up, smoke a cigarette, take Luna for a walk. Try not to smoke another cigarette before I go to work. Take the bus, go to work. Smoke a cigarette directly after work. Walk from my job back to the place where I was staying. Smoke another cigarette, probably. Eat sometimes, maybe. Day in, day out. For days, for weeks, not really talking to anyone about anything, complaining about the living situation because, to be honest, it was horrible. That's a whole other thing. Um, I read this. I've read this one post once. It said something like, "You can try to outrun grief, but at the end of the day, it's going to find you." And I thought to myself, no. Grief's never met an animal like me. I got that dog in me. Oof. I'm a runner, capital R. So good at it. And I was really good at running, actually. I could and can still pull a mean 800. Sprinter, not distance. And but grief is a slow starter. When you're 200 meters into an 800, track terms, sorry for y'all who don't do sports, and you know no one's behind you, but then you hit that 400 mark, you might peek a glance. Grief gains some distance, you know, and you're like, I just gotta pull through for this last 400 part of these meters, right? And then grief, whatever it is, whatever animal that is hot on your tail. It's right behind you. It's about to tap you on the shoulder. It's breathing down your neck. And I don't mean it in a sexy kind of way. I once read this other post that said, grief will find you on a sunny afternoon at the bus stop. And that didn't happen to me. It's happened to me some days, but it didn't happen to me the first time. The first time that grief fully caught up to me is at this shitty bar in town. They don't even have maraschino cherries. Stupid. And my mom's favorite song, one of her favorite songs, started playing over the loudspeakers, and it felt like a gut punch. It's like before you start crying and you can feel your throat close up almost. That's what it was. One of the only times ever in my life that I Irish goodbye to my friends, and I threw up in the alley and I cried and walked an hour and change back to my new apartment, house, place, thing. And then the grief cycle repeated itself again for me. I wake up, smoke a cigarette, take Luna for a walk, try and get ready for work, I guess. Don't smoke, go to work, smoke directly after work. Cycles are weird. And grief would continue to find me for the rest of this year when I would see moms and their daughters hanging out, wishing that could be me. Or if I would catch a whiff of one of her perfumes on somebody else, or when I'd see like one of her favorite movies like up, which is so sick and sad because some of her favorite movies were my favorite movies. And imagine going almost a year without watching one of your favorite movies. Slash, maybe you're not as attached to movies as I am. Whatever. A couple of months after my mom died, I guess I did technically get a pamphlet. Thanks, Prudential. This is not sponsored, by the way, but they sent this A Road to Wellness, a guide for beneficiaries, because I got her health insurance, or not her health insurance, her life insurance check. And the first time that I got it, I actually threw it across my not bedroom floor because I was like, I don't need this. And then one day I finally just did. Grief is this weird cycle where day in and day out, maybe for weeks or months, everything will be fine, everything will be chill, and then it won't be fine, and then it won't be chill. And you need people to talk to you about how weird things are and how weird you're feeling and how. Because I'm going to be honest with you, having a dead parent is so isolating. Having two dead parents, being an adult orphan, man, oh man. That shit's weird. And it's so incredibly lonely. No one really talks about it. And if you have siblings who you like and who like you, hats off. That must be so nice to go through something like that with each other. But for everyone else, it feels kind of weird and lonely and sad and bad and horrible. Sorry, this isn't supposed to be super depressing. Until you learn how to deal with grief better. I think for a while there, for a minute there, I had this thought that grief was something that I had to fight. Where I was like, grief, you're not allowed in my house, not on my watch. Instead of thinking of grief as this pet or this animal that is gonna come into my house whether I like it or not, but I just have to learn how to treat it, I guess. Grief is gonna find you. You can outrun it. You can do what Solange said. You could try and like drink it away, sex it away, eat it away. What are other vices? Chain smoke it away. Horror movie watch it away. Grief is gonna find your ass. Grief is Liam Neeson in that Taken movie, dog. And the best way to deal with grief is to treat it as nicely as you possibly can and treat yourself as nicely as you possibly can. You should definitely get a hobby. Something preferably cheap. Mine's collage. That's what I'm good at. Cooking is always a really good one. People love it when you get into cooking because it's like, oh, I can't eat all this food by myself. Baking. Get a hobby. Try not to spend too much money on Uber Eats. The local Korean restaurants know me by name. Worse things have happened, and there are worse things to be addicted to. Try not to smoke too many cigarettes. Reading is always a really good option. Reading about grief is always a really good option. Reading actual books might be too much. Maybe throw in some poems. Movies about grief I haven't really done, but that's probably still on the table too. I mean, it's only been a year. I think the best thing that I can say is to be patient. Time doesn't heal all wounds, it just allows them to scab over. And to be honest, you're going to pick at that scab once or twice, at least 3 times, because it feels kind of good. and then it feels horrible. I guess just try and make sure that the cut or the wound or the scab or whatever just doesn't get infected. Make sure that you have Neosporin, some gauze. So, not isolating, spending time with friends, talking about how you feel. If you're a friend of somebody who has a dead parent or is dealing with loss, sit beside them and ask them what's going on, dog, or don't, and maybe just sit beside them, because that's nice too. Get a hobby. Try not to chain smoke. Try not to run. But if you do start running, just know that it's going to catch up to you sooner or later. And keep that in the back of your mind so you're not totally blindsided when it finally catches up to you and smacks you in the face. And just know also that, like, you're not alone, I guess. I've spent this year feeling really lonely, but I've spent the majority of my life feeling kind of lonely. But there are worse things. And this year has really been a testament to working on that. Probably should get a therapist. It's kind of expensive. I'm not gonna lie to you, it's very expensive. And probably eat some Korean food, which is what I'm about to do. This is 21 minutes of me sharing my thoughts and my feelings. And as for where I've been for this last year, I know that I haven't really posted, and my posts in general online have been so incredibly sporadic here and there and everywhere in between, and I haven't made a video essay or commentary on anything important or substantial, and I don't even know how long, at least 2 years at this point. But it's been a tough year. Nothing like both of your parents dying and your brother, amongst other people, um, and dealing with that, and then trying to think of content while also going to work, while also being beautiful and having delicious plump skin. I mean, I can't do it all, guys. But it's December, almost close to January, and everyone keeps telling me that 2025 is going to be my year. So I guess also this is like my testament to myself that 2025 is going to be a very good year. Dead parents or no. I don't have anything else substantial to say. There's snot underneath my nose because I've spent the last couple of hours crying and I'm trying really hard not to cry again. And I am gonna order Korean food and watch a movie with my dog. And maybe smoke a cigarette. We'll see. Happy death day to my mom, I guess. And shout out to the Korean restaurants in town. I'll see you later in the next one. Bye-bye.